All right, guys, back with another playtest. Today's playtest is all about the Allure version 2. Now, this is obviously the all black colorway. They are a very comfortable pair of football boots, but I do have a couple skepticisms that I'm interested to test out today as far as how they're gonna perform on pitch. Now, we are on an AG pitch, and I assume these are gonna be just fine simply because they're a conical stud pattern. It's gonna feel great. This is a boot that is all K leather with some pieces and parts made in Italy, made in Portugal, and assembled and designed in the UK, which is pretty cool as well. So we are gonna get these on feet, lace them up, get into some footwork. We've got some dribbling, a little bit of like sprints back and forth or some agility work just to kind of work on lockdown. And then of course some passing and shooting. I actually got a goal shot as well. So you guys will see some cool footage of doing some more like top bin stuff as well. So without further ado, guys, let's hop into it. All right, getting the boots on. So one of the things that you notice right away when trying these boots on is they are very, very comfortable straight out of the box. The suede liner in the heel does a really nice job of sort of wrapping your foot, although there is a little bit of looseness in that area. So I am curious to know as we get into a little bit more aggressive type playing, what's actually going to happen. The other kind of critique I have of this boot is that given it's a leather boot, why you wouldn't put a runner's knot, which just takes an extra little kind of staple right there, because I do think this lacing system stops a little bit too early right in this area, which is a little bit annoying. So I imagine that that's going to cause a little bit of headache and frustration when doing sharp turns and stuff like that. But overall, as a pair of comfort football boots, they are super, super comfy straight out of the box. There's no doubt about that. Well designed as far as, you know, how they stack up against the competition. Now, from a weight perspective, when you put the shoes on, they're obviously going to be a little bit heavier than a lot of other stuff on the market simply because they are a small brand. And so they don't have the R&D budget and some of the other things to basically take the boots down to the bare bones like a Morelia 2 or an Adler boot, particularly because the Adler boots are like designed, made, everything in-house, if that makes sense. So overall, again, fit half a size down. So I go with an 8.5 US, so half a size down, and the fit is really, really nice. As the leather stretches, it's gonna feel even better. But there they are on feet. Let's hop into a little bit of footwork. And keep in mind too, the sole plate is Pebax, so it does have quite a bit of rigidity to it, even though the upper is super soft. So that is good. As I'm kind of sitting here moving my legs back and forth, you can really feel kind of it does have a bit of springiness, the sole plate, which is always nice. So getting straight into it, and yeah, a little bit. So again, the suede liner is really high quality, at least that's what it feels like. But I would say that, ooh, hello, even with some of that sort of aggressive movement, especially when I'm coming back out of the ladder. So as I'm doing that like icky shuffle, these little movements like plant pivot, tiny, tiny bit of slippage back here. It's not too bad, but again, there's a little bit of a pokey gap right there. That's where runner's knot really important. But I think when I'm doing any sort of play test with a boot like this, that is a little bit more on the classic side. Well, it's a lot more on the classic side actually, compared to other stuff on the market. I am really cognizant and aware of the fact that these aren't gonna perform as well as say a Vapor or something like that, right? It's sort of that, you know, when you're going through a drill like this, when you're doing any sort of cutting, from a shooting touch perspective, amazing. However, it's not gonna give you that same lockdown responsiveness, all that stuff. But the whole point of this boot is if you're gonna buy this boot, you know that you're getting into something that's a little bit more classic. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so before we jump into any sort of ball work, I wanna do this little test early on. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprint from this cone line all the way to that cone line, really as sharp of a turn as I possibly can, push off, and I'm really testing lateral stability, lateral lockdown, and sole plate responsiveness. That's something that, you know, maybe I go 80, 90%, but you still get an idea of kind of, you know, what that responsiveness is like. So as I come up, yeah, to be honest, with the suede liner, I gotta be honest, guys, it's pretty impressive how locked in these are given the construction. At least first impressions are, yes, when I'm coming in like this, there's a tiny bit of, not slippage, but like a little bit of rollover. That's to be expected from a leather upper though that doesn't have any lateral structure or stability. But I would say, again, for the most part, when you're talking about a boot like this, the leather isn't gonna be necessarily as soft as a made in Japan product, but excuse me, the robustness of the K leather and like Italian K leather is that you get kind of a little bit more structure, I guess. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, right? We always talk about this in the boot world, is like you trade off comfort for a little bit of that performance and lockdown, and vice versa, unless you're somebody who fits, you know, perfectly into a Vapor or whatever. But even then, I would argue a boot like this is going to be more comfortable for most people than, or like a Morelia 2 or an Adler boot. All of these kind of more classic boots are going to be generally more comfortable for people, even if most people will decide to use their speed boot or their control boot or something like that, as opposed to a little bit more of a classic boot. All right, so just before we get into some dribbling stuff, more intensive, I just want to get some like juggling. I actually got one of these little like wall pass things, which I'm so excited about, because especially on a field like this that doesn't have any concrete walls or anything, it's so nice to do some solo drills when I don't have a partner. As I talked about in the initial review, the touch is really nice and plush and padded. I would say it's not as pillowy as the Morelia. It sits kind of between the Morelia and the Yatagarasu as far as softness and, how do I say? I guess just like pillowiness in general. So the Yatagarasu is like the thinnest leather upper you can possibly find. It's amazing. It feels super nice on feet, very, very comfortable. And it just, that is one of those boots that is like the most barefoot leather you're possibly gonna find. And then you've got something like a Morelia 2, which is, I wouldn't say padded is the right word. Like a Copa Icon is padded. The Morelia 2 is like pillowy soft, whereas this kind of sits in the middle. It's like a little bit thinner than the Morelia 2, but it's got a little bit more robust feeling to it. And so it feels really controlled, really nice. Obviously you get every kind of surface area you want because the upper's so consistent, which I actually really like. And then because the leather's not as plush and as quality necessarily, it's really high quality, but it's not as quality as the Morelia, so you're not gonna get as much stretch, which means it kind of, you do feel maybe a little bit more locked in, even though the Running Bird logo on the Morelia 2 does kind of, I don't know, outweigh that. I don't know. But needless to say, like first touch and stuff, like, you know, if I pop the ball, if I'm popping the ball up and I'm taking that first touch, bam, right? Like that is, it feels so good with these. The general passing, like it's, again, with an all leather football boot, you really can't go wrong, because that's like, it's a very classic feel. It wraps your foot really well and you're not gonna get any distractions. But again, it doesn't have stickiness to it. It doesn't have a grip element. It's not super thin. So this is, if you're interested in this type of boot, that's what you're buying, which is fair. All right, so this is one of my favorite dribbling drills. Just a lot of different types of touches, little figure 8 action, little technical drill. So feel free to follow along if you want, but I am gonna talk through kind of what it's like on a, you know, structural basis as I'm doing any sort of V cuts. Okay, what does a sole plate feel like underfoot? And what does the dribbling feel like as well? Little turn, lovely. Yeah, nice. Feels good. Really, really good. Nice. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty impressed with how locked in these feel. I was kind of not expecting them to feel that locked in and that responsive, but I stand corrected, and I definitely enjoy how responsive the sole plate feels. It feels okay on AG as well, so that's always a good thing, especially when you're looking at a boot that, you know, theoretically is pretty classic. So yeah, Allure, nice job. All right, we'll go through a second little rotation here. Same idea, a little bit different skills. One thing that I'm noticing as well is, I don't know if this is like a custom mold from them, but the sole plate actually feels super balanced. And I imagine on FG, it's gonna feel even better. I will for sure, like as I do the 1 month review and as I start testing this more, I'm gonna play on FG a lot more with these as well, just to kind of get a feel. But even on AG, like, sure, they feel a little bit unbalanced, but that's just because this style of shoe tends to have a pretty large circumference of stud. So the studs are often a lot like larger around than some of the other AG studs, which tend to be really thin and really small. So they dig into the ground really easily. I don't find that this is like a hindrance to my playing. It's just something to notice if you are somebody who's like, oh no, I absolutely have to have an AG model. Like, okay, then fair enough. That's your prerogative. Lovely. But yeah, honestly, guys, I'm like a little surprised. I kind of wasn't expecting these boots to be as good as they feel on feet. Again, as I start doing a little bit of a sharper movement here, especially the turns on this one, as I'm coming this way, you know, doing any sort of skill, I am noticing the heel slippage a little bit. But again, I've actually told the Allure owner, I said, hey, on your next gen, or even, you know, 0.5 iterations of the version 2, you have to put a runner's knot, because that, I think that alone would completely save the way that the lockdown feels. It's not bad, but it's not where it could be with just like 2 extra lace holes. That's all it would take. All right, getting these legs warmed up a little bit. I mean, to be fair, I've already swam like 3,500 meters and had a gym session this morning. However, so I am warm, but just a little touch here, touch around the pole, and then I'm just trying to wrap near post or far post. We got the skills thing now, so it actually looks dope. But again, the goal really is just to warm up on this one, and then I'll get into some more like aggressive dribbling. So a little bit better shape on that one, but you get the idea. Striking seems to feel pretty good. Usually with boots like this, a little bit more classic feeling, right? A boot that's a little bit more classic feeling may not be your cup of tea. From my perspective, as I get older, and I think I just value comfort more. Nice, almost. I think I just value comfort a little bit more than I used to. Obviously, having worn a bunch of boots that I probably shouldn't have, simply because I just like liked them or whatever. I don't know. I thought they were dope, or I wanted to, you know, feel a certain type of way when I wore them. However, a boot like this is just kind of oh wow, a little bit no nonsense, in the sense that it, you know, it performs exactly how you expect it to perform, which is huge. And I would say that's what I get from a boot like a Morelia 2 Yatagarasu. I haven't really tried the Brazil Elite OG yet, at least too much. I do want to get into that one though. So that's something that I'm thinking about. It's pretty soon, I think. But honestly, like, striking surface feels really good. It's super consistent. As I said before, an all leather classic football boot, you're just gonna get like exactly what you know you want to do with the ball. That like, there's nothing on the boot that like will distract you, or it won't, like a Predator, for instance, right? You have the extra little bit of strike skin that when you do these types of shots, sometimes it comes off your foot perfectly and you get an extra little 5% or 2% amount of whip, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? On this one, you're not gonna get that, but that's also the beauty of it, because it's just pure playing experience, which is great. All right, same idea on the right foot. One thing that I am interested by too is how these fit straight out of the box, because I do think that they are really suitable for kind of most foot shapes, which is great, as are, I think, most all leather football boots. Although you look at kind of you look at like the difference between the, you look at the difference between the Yatagarasu and the Horenzo. Horenzo is slightly narrower. I think it just has a little bit more of a low profile feel to it, whereas these ones kind of have it's really gonna be fantastic for most foot shapes, which is awesome. So that's one thing that I think is great from this type of shape, is that it's very neutral. The toe box is maybe a little bit more pointy than the Adler boots or the Mizuno boots, tiny bit, but again, it's all leather, so I wouldn't stress too much about, you know, if this is a boot that you're really interested in, then that would be something that I would consider, especially if you're a wide-footed player, because I've had 0 hot spots with these already, or yet, I should say, and they are nice finish there. A little bit lackluster on the power, but a little pass into the corner. But from the standpoint of, again, comfort and stuff, let's do that again. They really perform well, and they fit really well as well. Fit really well too. Also, these miter balls are so good for striking. That's just a side note. They're awesome. Discount code down below. All right, little dribbling to a shot here. We're gonna go 2 each side, as in 2 cut inside and then 2 cut outside. So as I come this way, I'm gonna come around, do whatever sort of skill move. 2 will be inside cut and 2 will be a touch this way, kind of down the line, so to speak, and then fire a shot across the face of goal, ideally in that kind of back corner, either top corner or bottom corner, doesn't really matter. People score those types of goals all the time. So little bounce, and then we'll go from there. Little fake shot or fake pass, and really get lovely. Yeah, nice. Honestly, I think these are gonna perform even better on an FG pitch. To be fair, most boots do, but I just think like FG has that little bit of forgiveness to it, and a boot like this, I reckon, would be so good. Not that it isn't good already ooh, right down the pipe. That's all right. But yeah, honestly, guys, like, hats off to Allure, because I was not expecting these to be as enjoyable as they are. I am going to poke extra holes in these, and I'm going to tell him being the owner, just because I think it's going to enhance the playing experience by, like, honestly, like almost tenfold, which is kind of scary because these are already really, really good. Nice. These are already like very enjoyable to play in, and surprisingly rigid in the sole plate, which is such a big deal. Like, that's a boot like this needs to have a sole plate that has a little bit of structure to it, because otherwise, losing control. Hello. Near post bangers, that's all right. A boot like this can so easily feel sloppy and feel just not it if it doesn't have that responsive sole plate. But however they've designed this, even though it looks really classic, it's very, very impressively springy. So well done. All right, pretty simple here on this one. These ones are great. I just bought these on Amazon, but they flip around. So they give you a little like pop-up if I hit it on the ground like that, as opposed to straight back at you. So a little bit of pop-up, touch down, pretend like I'm going outside, cut, play through, and then the same thing, 2 inside, 2 outside. I really want to switch it up and be, you know, if I'm going to play wing at some point, like I want to be, and even as an outside back, to be fair, being able to go both ways is super beneficial. All right, here we go. Lovely. Could have gotten the shot off a little bit quicker there, but nice. God, I tell you what, a really, really nice set of footballs, match balls, and a board when you're training solo is game changing. And then a set of cones, because that's like, you know, $5 or whatever. Here we go. Ooh. Too much ferocity on that one. That's all right. Learning, training, learning. All right. Again, not much else to say now. I feel like I've said kind of all I want to say about these for the most part. Oh, the other thing, the tongue, it's a little shaky. It goes back and forth a little bit. I think that's where brands, micro brands like this, you know, Allure and Uno Zero is another one that I think has a lot of potential. If you put 2 lace loops on the tongue as opposed to just one, so that the laces cross over in between 2 like little hooks or little slashes, however you say that, on the tongue, it completely negates all of the side-to-side slippage. To be fair, it's not slipping too much, but it is just one of those things I wish it had that just for a little bit more security. But that's, again, we're like super nitpicky right now, but that's, I guess, how it should be. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really enjoying these. The suede in the heel liner completely saves this boot as far as lockdown goes, because I do feel a little bit unstable in the back part of the midfoot, but man. Oh man, we're gonna do one more. Going that way again. I just wanna hit the target on those outside ones. I just, yeah, I think it's a boot that a lot of people are gonna really like, and if you've had Mizuno, you've had Adler, or you haven't had either and you want something a little bit different, Allure might be the way to go, guys, because they are pretty enjoyable. They are really enjoyable to play in. Oh, so close, so close. All right, a little bit of free kicks, crossbar challenge, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, here we go. Free kicks. We're gonna do both sides, basically anywhere between the yellow line here and the pink. Kind of, what would that be? Maybe 20, 23 or 24 meters out. Just that single step up. Try to get that in the top bins and kind of feel what that stability of the sole plate is as well. So, ooh, there's a bee right next to it. If I piss that off, I'm gonna get stung to crap, hey. All right, here we go. Okay. Not great, decent shape. Just got to get up and around it. I think I went too much power and a little less finesse. We're gonna go a little bit more finesse here and just kind of pick out that top corner if I can. Feeling good though. Boots are feeling great, super comfortable. Pinky toe's a tiny bit cramped, but that's to be expected from new boots. I kind of get that with pretty much everything. Ooh, now that's too much. All right. Somewhere in between there is gonna be right in that postage stamp top bins. Just micro improvements. 1, 2, 3. Last one, here we go. Oh, we're gonna go one more. Can't be ending on that one. From a striking surface, I tend to prefer something a little bit thinner. So the Adler boots, I think the, again, knit synthetic, those are gonna be like really nice to strike with. It's not that these aren't good to strike with, it's just my preference as far as kind of the control. There we go. Oof. Post, bummer. The control that I can get with that strike, I feel like with a boot like this that's got a little bit of kind of tension, and it's leather, so it's not gonna be as fluidly moving with your foot. Obviously, as you break it in, it softens up, of course, which it is now. But with a leather upper that's not buttery soft, it's not gonna mold perfectly to your foot. And so when you move your foot and you cramp it in a way where that's, your technique or whatever, when you're trying to get that up and over or knuckleball or whatever, that's where a leather boot maybe isn't as good from a striking, like a pure striking perspective, compared to, let's say, a knit boot that just your foot, the ball will literally feel whatever your foot shape does because the knit just molds perfectly straight away to your foot, as opposed to this that has a little bit more structure to it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I'm feeling. But again, striking surface in general is super clean, obviously, because there's no distractions on here, but it is something to keep in mind if you are looking for something a little bit more enjoyable. I don't want to say enjoyable because these are enjoyable. A little bit more aggressive to strike with. All right, here we go. Right foot, or weak foot, as they say. Just a single step up. See if I can get this technique right. I'm really just trying to dip and swerve it into that top bins here. There we go. Bang. Nice. That's it. Perfect. So, yeah, again, technique, much more important than power, especially from this distance. Same again. Just get that little bit of hip torque, if you will. similar kind of shape. I just need to like turn my hips a little bit more as I strike through the ball. That way it gets a little bit further. So you see those two first shots were very similar shaped, but because I left my hips a little bit too open, it's gonna start that way and bend in the middle, as opposed to starting in the middle and bending that way. A little bit of coaching advice for you. All right, same idea. A little bit better. Okay, you get the idea though. That first one was like exactly what I was looking for. Crossbar challenge, as always, to end off the video. All right, you already know what it is, guys. One each, completely uncut. You might see like an overlay of some 120p footage, but do I want right foot? Let's go right foot first. Let's go right foot first. A little bit of a ping. Hit the skills goal shot. That doesn't count at all though. And too high. Bummer. Okay, maybe not. However, it is time for this conclusion. Let's rock and roll. All right, guys, that is gonna wrap up today's video playtest of the Allure version 2. This is also called the NERO, or NERO, which basically just means black. So this is the blackout. They do have whiteout as well, so if you are interested in that. And I think, according to their socials, they're coming out with a new colorway as well. I'm not actually sure what color it is, so you'll have to find out on their socials. You guys can follow them and all that stuff. So Allure version 2, it's good to play with. It's very classic feeling. It has a lot of good things going for it as far as comfort, kind of the plushness of the upper, some of the really, I think the micro suede in the heel area honestly is like very, very high quality. That really made a difference for me for the playing experience, and there was zero heel blistering or pressure anywhere in this area. Again, the biggest thing that I have with boots like this that kind of bug me is when they don't do the runner's knot, and especially when they stop the lacing system at the top of here, because especially when you have such a deep and a large area between the heel and where the lacing system is, you often will get this area up in here kind of pretty wide and stuff, because it isn't like as tight as I want to tie the laces. It just kind of opens up over time as you stretch them, and the leather gets a little bit more soft and stuff. So I can't stress enough how important a runner's loop is, particularly because with this stitching pattern, you actually do have an extra reinforced area up here. So I don't know why they didn't decide to do a runner's knot there, because I do think it would change, it would honestly, I think, completely change the playing experience of these. And even though I do think what I said in the playtest stands, I do think these are quite good as far as responsiveness goes for this type of football boot. It would be so much better, like up there with the best from a responsiveness perspective if you did put the lacing loops there, or the extra lace loops there. But overall, from a comfort perspective, I think this boot does a lot really well. And to be honest, I was quite surprised, just because there's a lot of brands that come out with boots like this that are new to the market, and they're often pretty lackluster. The sole plate has a good amount of structure to it, good amount of snapback as well. At least that's what it felt like on feet, which is really great. Insoles are very, very comfortable. They're super plush underfoot, which is really nice. So no complaints on the insoles there. And it does have that micro suede as well. So for me, that's a huge plus, particularly wearing the grip socks that I do, the WeFoot socks. These aren't like a plastic grip. It's like a fabric grip, which in my opinion is way more effective, but you often have the best results with a suede liner on the bottom. So the fact that these do have it, that's probably also why I had very little slippage inside these, because of how locked in with the grip socks and stuff were. So Allure, honestly, guys, there's not much to complain about. The robustness of these boots feels really good. Obviously, with the stitching all the way around the sole plate, you're gonna get probably zero separation of this leather upper. I would reckon if you wore these until they died, the leather would actually fall apart before the stitching would. So that's huge, and I'm looking forward to continuing to play with these and to get a feel for them. I'm definitely gonna poke another hole in there to do the lace loop and to really kind of let it go. And I also might put a different set of laces in here, not because these laces aren't good, they're totally great, but I just wanna put something like a different color, maybe like a white or something on there. I don't know, something fun. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed that playtest of the Allure version 2. I definitely, as far as the first playing experience, if you're looking for a boot of this caliber, like a more classic fitting football boot, I would definitely put this on your list to try out. Just know that poking a lace hole in there yourself might be the way to go once you purchase them. But again, perfect amount of width, as in my opinion, does a really nice job. No blistering areas, no hot spots, broken super, super well, super soft. And as a classic football boot goes, this is a pretty good one with some really nice touches all over the boot. So that's gonna wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Discount code will be down in the description box for the balls, the little bounce thing, skills net, all that stuff. So you guys can go pick those up if you want to. Yeah, as always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.